Okay. So, what, as someone who is close to people who I have known who have had miscarriages, it's very hard to know what to do for someone that's had a miscarriage because, number one, everyone reacts differently, but number two, especially for someone like me who's never been in that situation, you don't want to be insensitive and not say anything, but you don't want to bother them if they're trying to move past it. What what can people like me do? How can we help you?
Well, I think that there's no good answer because, like you said, everyone reacts differently. But what helped me, I'm a pretty open person, and there were times I wanted to talk about it, but they're more off. That was kind of a little bit later. In the beginning, uh, I loved getting text messages. I had one of my girlfriends um, that text messaged me every day for a month, and it was because it was one line, either a Bible verse or just thinking about you or I love you, and with zero expectation for me to send anything a response back. And sometimes I would respond, and sometimes I wouldn't. But every day for a month, I got a text message from her.
I think that is so sweet.
It was awesome, actually. And that I think the thing that was the most hurtful were people that didn't say anything or that acted like that didn't
Well, what
acknowledge
should
it.
someone say? How do you acknowledge it without offending or hurting someone?
I would just say, I've heard what happened. Like, please let me know if there's anything I can do. I'm thinking and praying for you. When I have friends that now go through it, I send them text messages very frequently because I knew that was something that helped me, and I add them to our church's prayer list.
Mm-hmm.
And I let them know. I say, if you don't mind, I'm going to add you to our church's prayer list, and just know that I'm thinking about you. And we have our church is really great. They have a group that meets every hour, Monday through Friday, during the day, and pray specifically for people that are on the church list. So you know that you're getting prayed for every hour of every day.
Wow.
Yeah. And they usually sends like a blanket or something. We got one when we miscarried. We got a blanket from our church that had just a Bible verse and just a fleece blanket, but it was really thoughtful. And I don't know who, but someone had added us to the prayer list.
What are some things people should not say? Because that's just as important. I think I've heard you say some things were particularly hurtful, and I know that I have said those to people, not intending for it to be hurtful,
Yeah.
but just not knowing.
And I think that I probably had said some of those things, but when people said it just wasn't meant to be, that I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear the negative stuff, like it wasn't meant to be, or this God has a way of taking care of these things, and those sort of things. Just they made it sound like it was a mistake, that it shouldn't have happened, like that pregnancy shouldn't have happened. And I think that pregnancy was such a blessing. It did so much for not taking this pregnancy for granted. It did so much for John Michael and I's marriage. I mean, it just, that baby brought so many blessings out of our life. So when people said to me, well, it will happen when the timing is right, or, that God's just taking care of this for you, or you never know what kind of diseases that baby had, or, that kind of stuff. And we had genetic testing. The baby was perfectly healthy. That's what I want to say to people when they say that kind of stuff, but I don't. Because I know that they're just struggling for words to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have thought that would be a really fine thing to say as well, because it's comforting, like, a higher power taking care of things. But I didn't like when people said that to me.
What were some really nice things people said to you?
That they were thinking and praying for us, and that when they sympathized to the point of saying, I just really can't imagine going through something like this, or I'm hurting for you. When people just acknowledge the fact that they couldn't fathom what we were going through, but they were still.
So it's more about acknowledging the loss rather than, the pregnancy.
Yeah. It's more about just acknowledging that we're going through a really difficult time and that we have lost a baby, and as opposed to trying to make us feel better about
What was to come.
what was to come, the future. Because, I never lost faith that Jamichael and I would have children. It never crossed my mind that we wouldn't be able to get pregnant again. So, and right or wrong, I just wasn't able to face that, that kind of, I didn't even want to go down that path. So I didn't need anyone to tell me that the future was going to be fine, because I have a very strong faith and I knew that it would be fine. But I wanted people to acknowledge that pregnancy for what it was.
Yeah.